Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, I've been asked to come and speak on trades and real estate investing. And first off, I want to talk about trades because it's one of the most open areas that we have in our whole country right now, not just right here in this area, but in our whole country. And by trades, I'm talking about electricians, carpenters, plumbers, the trades that build homes and build buildings for business. And we have programs now over at the local community college that are so well designed that you can go to one of those classes a lot of times for free, and you can get everything you need to be certified as an apprentice. Now, the tough part is once you get that part done, you have to find someone that will let you work for them and work through an apprenticeship. And I'm afraid in our area, we haven't had the people who own the companies and the remodeling and building companies, we haven't had them get on board with being actually masters for the apprentices. The reason being, they would have to pay for it, I think. The thing is, you know, it's what our guys do. Whoever owns a construction company goes and gets all the certifications, gets approved in all of them, and then they hire a crew and quite literally pay them half what they should be getting paid. And they sign off on all the work as the master electrician, master plumber, master whatever. Now, for young people, I would like to encourage you, even with that little hump that you have to get over, if nothing else, I would encourage you to go to the college, get the certifications, and if you have to, go to Roanoke or somewhere to work with somebody to get your master's, and then come back to Richlands. We have master plumbers and master electricians and all this in Richlands who are making more than $75 an hour all the time. And you call them, you need work done, you call them, they're you know, they're booked out. Well, maybe I can come and do it next month. And I mean, quite seriously, they're that booked up and that busy. So if you just think about it, that's something that you could take advantage of yourself. And I encourage young people to really look at this, because you can make as much money in the trades, roofing houses, electrician, building houses. You can make as much money in those trades with a high school graduate degree as you may make if you go on to college and get a 4-year degree. Now, I'm not opposed to education, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying that's not the only road to take. And if you like being outside, if you like doing work with your hands, this is something I would really encourage you to look at. Now, real estate investing, excuse me. I'm not a professional real estate investor by any means. However, back in 2015, 2012, in that area, I was working in manufacturing. Had a really good job. I was a COO of a corporation, making more money than I ever thought I'd make in my life, quite frankly. And but I was worried that when retirement time come, which was 2016, I was afraid that I would not be able to live or, you know, pay for my living off of what retirement I had built up and Social Security and all these wonderful things. So my wife and I talked about it and decided to try to get into rental properties. Now, I read books about it. I listened to podcasts about it. I did everything I could do, but I could never find a human person sitting in front of me that I could touch and feel to tell me what it was like. So we kind of went into it a little bit blind, but it was in order to augment our retirement and to be able to live the lifestyle that we wanted to live. Quite frankly, it's been one of the most rewarding journeys in the last 6 years that I've had out of my total 72 years. We actually had the money to pay a down payment on the property. We bought it for $145,000, if I'm not mistaken. We had to do some work on it. It was a house and an apartment. Had to do some work on it, not very much at all. The folks that owned it had worked on it to live in it themselves, and then decided they didn't want to live there. So it was kind of an opportunity for us. We had enough to pay 20% down, and that's a magic number that I hope I have time to talk to you about a little bit before I finish. We had enough, thanks to my job and saving some money, we had enough to pay 20% down on it. Remarkably, we had that thing rented in just a matter of days. I mean, it was just no time till we had both the house and the apartment rented. Now, the rent that I was gathering on that I was getting each month on this actually paid the payment for the loan that I took out, and about 2/3 more than that. In other words, I'm going to put numbers on it that are not real numbers, okay? But maybe it'll be easy. Say my payment was $300 a month, and I was renting this property for $900 a month, which is very reasonable. Then I was clearing, so to speak, $600 a month. Now, my old frugal self said, you need to put $600 a month into paying that loan off and use the $300 for taxes, insurance, going to the movies and all this sort of thing. That's where I didn't understand real estate. The secret of real estate investing is once you get that first property, and using the same example that I'm making 900, I'm drawing 900 on it every month. I'm paying 300 for the payment. I'm using 300 for taxes, insurance, some money for me. The other 300, I ought to be working on a down payment for another property. The great thing about this is if you're working, if you're working, you've got a good reputation as a worker, you got a good credit reference, then you can take just a little bit of money and the 20% that I put into this first property and use it as collateral to get the 20% that I get my second property with. And it's almost magical how this happens. It really is. I mean, I was so engaged in it that my grandson, Hunter Brown, probably a lot of you know him, I talked to him about this and I said, man, Hunter, if I were your age, you wouldn't believe what I could be doing now. I really believe had I have got into this at 30 years old, I really believe I could have been a millionaire by now, if not better, from rental properties. And the thing is, you're not taking advantage of anyone. You know, it's not, seems to me like most of the time when you see anybody that's made a little bit of money in their life, everybody automatically thinks, well, who did they crook to get that? That's not the way it is, guys. The crooks don't last very long. I mean, they may make a good living for a while, but sooner or later that'll come and bite them in the backside. But I told Hunter, I said, man, if I just had the time, if I'd have just got into this when I was your age, and I begged Hunter, you know, to please do this. And he and his wife, Bethany already had dabbled in real estate a little bit. And I think she really kind of had the vision. She had was working on a real estate license. She had the vision, so she wasn't a hard sell. And I got Hunter into it. Now, I want to say this was maybe 5 years ago, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But right now, and I can't tell you factually what all Hunter's got, but he's working on right now 2 apartment complexes that'll have more than 20 apartments in those. Now, boy, you're talking about when you start getting return on this stuff, under one roof, you're collecting 20 rents every month. It's going to be a sight to see what Hunter Brown and Bethany are going to do in their life. And I live vicariously through them every day. I watch what they're doing. I'm so excited about it. But now, okay, for you guys, whoever I'm talking to, you're sitting there and you're saying, well, man, how do I ever get that 20%? Well, you know, I can't tell you that exactly. One way is go to the trades maybe and make it building houses or doing contract work. Another way may be to get a job and live frugally, save a lot of money, save all the money you possibly can. And if you have a good job work record and you have some money saved, there's not a bank in the country that won't loan you money. Everybody is under the mistaken assumption that you know, banks really don't want to loan you money and you have to jump up and down and dance and all that to get them to do it. That's not true. The banks really want to loan you money. For an example, right now, I own 9 rental properties. That's probably all I'm going to get. And the reason being is I'm too dang old to fool with it. I mean, I won't live long enough to really see the benefit or the fruits of it. That's not really true. I see the fruits of it every month, but you know, I'm getting old to the point to where I don't want to go be fixing sink drains and cleaning out commodes and all this stuff. And that's part of the business that you have to do. But it's an exciting adventure that, boy, oh boy, if I could just live my life over again, right here in the town of Richlands, and knowing what I know now about real estate, I could have lived here my whole life with my family and made a tremendous living. So I encourage you to think about it. You know, there's podcasts on, there's books about it. And the thing about a lot of these books and podcasts is you hear them and it's very easy just to say, well, yeah, that worked for you, but what about for me? Well, you know, you have to have the dream, I believe. You have to have the ambition. You have to be true to yourself. You got to put that money aside that you're going to invest into this thing. But boy, once you get into it and see how it works, if you approach it with honestly hard work and thinking about it, I think about anybody could do it. It's just making that first step, or maybe it's when I made the second step that I realized. But I wanted to finish a thought on the bank. I'm sorry. You know, about the banks. The banks do want to lend you money, and they will try any way they can. But I'll tell you what, they will not loan you money that they can't guarantee they're going to get back out of it, either by you paying it or by selling whatever it is you owe for, you know. But they make the money. I think a lot of times, you know, with all the excitement that I've got about being in real estate and owning these real estate rental properties, the bank sitting there and on every house that I've bought, they're making $200 or $300 a month in interest, and they ain't doing anything. They don't have to go clean out a commode or nothing, you know. But that's what you pay to get into it. That's the way business is. And the banks have been really a very strong partner in my relationship with building this rental thing. Anybody got any questions, or y'all want me to keep on talking?
We haven't got any questions yet.
Okay, well, either I'm doing a good job or there's nobody listening, right?
What's some of the pitfalls?
Pardon me?
Pitfalls that you've seen with the industry too, like you said, cleaning the toilets out and, you know, general maintenance stuff. Are there any other advice you give on pitfalls?
There are things that right when they happen, you think they're pitfalls. Give you a 2-day answer. I bought a property in Claypole Hill. My wife and I went through, we cleaned, we painted, we fixed, and we did all this. We hired some guys to help us with the painting. All that. We had a beautiful home. Actually, I rented it before I had it ready to rent. A guy came by, was looking for a place. Now, and this has happened to the last 3 houses that I bought, by the way. Before I was finished doing the work on them, people came and paid the deposit in the first month's rent. That's how it is. I mean, believe it or not, I don't know if you guys know me well enough, but if you know me on Facebook, every now and then I'll put it on Facebook. And I tell my wife, you know, I kind of dread putting a property on Facebook because within an hour you have 30 people banging your Facebook, you know, wanting to talk to you about it. So that's not one of the problems. I kind of got off base. The house in Claypool Hill, we did all this fixing up and all this. We had it ready to go. We rented it, and right today it's got a leak. It's got a leak in the roof. Now I don't get on roofs. Okay. I may fix commodes, but I don't get on roofs. So I've got my guys up there today, I hope, working to get that leak repaired. And now you can say that's a pitfall. Well, maybe it is in a way, because I thought I had it ready to go. Financial pitfalls, probably, I guess if I were going to point out one thing, it would be how much it cost for taxes, insurance, getting any work done, these kinds of things. But with my 9 properties, I have never ran into the problem that the pitfall cost me more than what I would have planned on to get into it.
Looking for a place to buy or rent out, what are some things you look for? How do you choose the ideal property to rent out?
I look for a good neighborhood. And by that, my definition of a good neighborhood is Dalton Addition, some areas of Dalton Addition on Virginia Avenue and around in there. A great neighborhood for me would be Hidden Valley. That's where I live, by the way. You know, I actually own 3 properties in Hidden Valley. Try to find a place that doesn't have too much rundown stuff around it, you know, because I try to rent good properties and clean properties and all that. And if you put a good, clean property in the middle of a bunch of dumpy places, and by that I mean, you know, cars up on blocks and trash all around, that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt your property. So I try to find a place that's clean, that's neat. I look for houses also that are somewhat affordable, you know, that I can get people into. Beyond that, I don't know. It's kind of a feel for me. Yes.
So you started this in 2016.
Yeah.
The real estate market in 2016 is very different than the real estate market in 2016.
It is. Yeah.
So in 2016, the average cost of a home in Richlands was around $73,000.
Mhm.
Obviously, the real estate market's hot. You can't even get a house in the inventory.
Right. Right.
So thinking about that and thinking about where you started 6 years ago and where somebody could start now, what would be your advice between the 2 different markets?
Doesn't matter a bit. And I mean that. It doesn't matter a bit. If you get into it and get a house and you fix it properly. Now, as far as I know, I'm pretty well known in Richlands of having good properties, good, clean properties that people can move in and be proud to live there. I think if you do that, it doesn't really matter what the market is, because, you know, it may cost you more to get into it, but you're going to charge more for rent that you get out of it. I was just talking to somebody earlier today, and we were talking about a 2x4 stud right now at Lowe's cost $8. Well, now, if every 2x4 in my home in Hidden Valley is worth $8, I'm sitting on a gold mine over there. And even though it's never going to be worth that much, it is going to gradually come up. It's coming up, isn't it, Blake? Yeah. Now, what about when it goes down? The truth is, people have to have a place to live when it goes down, you know? So I'm excited about it. I'm more excited for Hunter than I am for me. I'm anxious just to watch and see what that lad does with himself. Okay. Where are we? Okay.
You were talking about the electrician trade, and that's getting really bad around here. I mean, I've had some electrician work done here in town, and everybody's backed up. Like one guy that I normally use, he's backed up almost a year. And I'm even offering 2 and 3 times rate.
Right.
to get it
Right.
quicker.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just such a need right now. You hit the nail on the head with that plumbing and electrical and, you know,
Absolutely.
contracting, and that's the backbone of any town are the trades.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to have a college education for it. You just have to have the willingness to go through the classes, get your certification. And here's another thing that in my life has been a guiding force. And if y'all mind if I talk about that a little bit offline, but I dropped out of school in the 8th grade. Piddled around for a while, showed my hind end a whole lot. And you know, I didn't get in any really bad trouble, but I didn't do anything much good either. But I went in the service in 1968 in the middle of the Vietnam War and the Tet Offensive. And I went in thinking that I was going to Vietnam because I felt I needed to go fight for my country. Fortunately, when I finished AIT, which is your training that you go through, there was 255 people in our unit. 253 of them went straight to Vietnam, and 2 of us went to Germany. And the reason we didn't go to Germany is because they cannot give orders on an individual to go into a war zone that's under 18 years old. And I was under 18 years old. Even when I went to Germany, I really felt a lot of times about volunteering to go on to Vietnam after I turned 18. Thank God I didn't really, because in my opinion, that was about as useless a war as we were ever in. I'm sorry. That's my thoughts. But I started getting education. I went in the Army, dropped out of school in the 8th grade. I went in the Army. The Army has great educational opportunities. When my class that I would have graduated with in 1969, when they graduated, I had finished my high school and had a year of college. I went on, when I came out of the Army, I'll never forget, I went and met Dr. Charles King. And I loved that guy. I loved him the first day I met him, and I still love him today. He's done so much for this area of the country. And I started taking classes. I went to work in the mines, which was what I always wanted to do, believe it or not. I mean, it's hard for some people to think that you'd want to work in the mines, but that was exactly what I wanted to do. My family had always been miners, my dad and all them. So I went to work in the mines, and I went to college, and I got a 2-year degree from Southwest Virginia in mining. Then I went and got a 2-year degree in business. And then I got another 2-year degree in something or other, maybe basket weaving or something. But the thing I didn't understand was 1 2-year degree is all you need, you know? And that's what a lot of people look for. The only problem is now, and at that time, the 2-year degree wasn't enough to really get you something. So at the time, they started building a little place over in Lebanon. Right now, when you go by, it's up on the hill there on the left, it's got a big compression tank on the billboard out in front of it. I can't remember the name of it right now, but when I started to work there, it was ASAA. And that was the initials of the 2 men who started the company. And in manufacturing, I started to work, and my job was, they had carpenters cleaning up all around. And my job was in the evening when the carpenters finished was to sweep up all the sawdust and all that. At the same time, a fellow named Jerry Falwell up in Lynchburg started a great program for distance learning. And that finally allowed me to start working on a degree other than another 2-year degree. So I signed up for that. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to do that. Now, you guys, today, you guys know more about distance learning than anybody ever did. But back in my time, it wasn't easy. We had to go up there for 4 weeks out of the year and do cram classes. We had to, the exams that we took and the tests that we took, we had to go over to the college, and we had a person over there who did the testing, and they made sure that we didn't have anything to go in the testing, all that stuff. It was very legitimate. They posted a job over there for a manufacturing manager in December. I told the plant manager, I said, I want to sign for that job. He said, well, have you got a bachelor's degree? I said, no, I will have one in January, next month. He said, you have to have a bachelor's degree to get that job. So luckily for me, there wasn't anybody around or around anywhere in the country that wanted to move to Lebanon, Virginia. So come January, they still hadn't filled the job. When I went up and got my diploma, I come back to the plant manager and I laid my diploma on his desk and I said, I want that job. And he said, okay, I'm going to give it to you. And I'm not going to use his exact words, but he said, I'm not going to carry your butt. You're going to have to make it on your own. And that was the start of my managerial career in manufacturing. And I feel like I'm saying me a lot, and I don't mean to do that, but I'm hoping to give you an idea that a lot of things are possible if you just decide on it and stick to it and put yourself out there for it. I went from manufacturing manager in Lebanon to a plant manager in Wisconsin, to a plant manager in Texas, to a plant manager in St. Louis, and back to a plant manager in Northern Virginia at Marillac Cabinets. And so I went, the thing I found, and this was the key to promotion in the manufacturing industry. If you had the degree and the experience, you had to be willing to move. When I was at Lebanon at ASAA, and I had my 4-year degree, and the plant manager's job come open, and I applied for it. And I was it really hurt my feelings when I didn't get it. And I went in and talked to the vice president, and I said, I don't understand. I've done everything I could do as manufacturing manager. I've got the qualifications for plant manager. Why didn't you give me that job? He said, would you work any harder as plant manager than what you do now as manufacturing manager? And I said, well, honestly, I don't think I could, because I'm doing everything I can do right now. And he asked me a couple of questions, would I do this? Would I? And he said, so why should I pay you more to do what you're doing now for the pay you're getting now? Well, that's kind of a lousy reason, but that was the reason. So when I started to agree to move and go wherever they wanted me to go, that's when my career really took off. And I went all around that. Actually, Lear Corporation ended up buying all that out. I left Lear Corporation and come to Marillac Corporation in Culpeper, Virginia. And while I was up there, then I took another job in Lynchburg. Then we kind of wanted to get back home. And so we came back home, and I took a job at Lowe's. And because I like woodworking, I like fooling with plumbing and electrical and all that stuff. So Lowe's was always kind of a dream job for me if it had just paid anything, which it didn't. But anyway, the guy that originally started ASAA over here and had sold it all out, he called out of the blue and he said, I bought a plant in Ohio that I'd like you to manage. And I said, well, I don't know, we're trying to kind of settle in back home and all this. And he said, well, you think about it and let me know by the end of the week or something. I went and talked to my wife, and my lovely wife said, you need to take that job. You haven't got manufacturing out of your system. Okay. Took that job. I went to Ohio, A few months later, the same boss bought 2 plants in Michigan. He said, Paul, I'd like for you to start spending 2 days in Ohio and 3 days a week in Michigan. So I did that. We had 2 more plants in Wisconsin. I was there for about a year, and he came in and said, would you take the job of COO of the corporation? And I said, absolutely. So that's what I was doing when I retired. And quite frankly, I would have probably kept doing it for a few more years, but we were once again wanting to turn our eyes back toward home. So that's where we are. Education, I said all that to say, even though you may not need the education for the trades and all this, and that's a good thing, but in other areas, you do need an education for. And there's ways to get it now, guys. There's no way anybody can say, I can't get that education, because there's so many avenues available to you. You can even go to community college now and get a 4-year degree there. And I think sometimes, just like the bachelor's degree I had to have to get the manufacturing job, nobody asked me what that degree was in. You know, I just had to have a bachelor's degree. So I've always told my kids and grandkids, get a 4-year degree in basket weaving if you need to, you know, just get that degree. And quite frankly, they've all followed my advice, and I'm very proud of them. Okay, I've about talked out. Okay, thank you.